Have you ever felt like you were in a constant battle, not just against your circumstances, but against something much bigger, perhaps even with God Himself? Jacob, a central figure in the Bible, literally wrestled with God, and his story is absolutely incredible. His journey is marked by struggles, transformations, and, in the end, a divine blessing. But how can someone go from being known as a deceiver to becoming Israel, one who wrestles with God? As we delve into the life of Jacob, you will discover lessons about perseverance, humility, and the power of encounters with the divine. Stay with us until the end, because Jacob's story can mirror your own journey in ways you never imagined. Jacob's story begins long before the famous moment when he wrestles with God. He was born as the youngest of a pair of twins, holding on to the heel of his brother Esau, earning him the name Jacob, meaning usurper or deceiver. From birth, Jacob's life was marked by conflict, not only with others, but also with his own identity. Jacob's cunning soon became evident. He convinced Esau to sell his birthright for a bowl of stew, and later, with the help of his mother Rebekah, tricked his elderly father, Isaac, into receiving the blessing that was intended for Esau. This act of deception set off a series of events that forced Jacob to flee, fearing his brother's wrath. In the desert, while fleeing, Jacob had his first remarkable encounter with God. In a dream, he saw a staircase connecting heaven and earth, with angels ascending and descending it. At the top of the ladder stood the Lord, who promised to give Jacob and his descendants the land where he was, and assured his presence. This dream marked a turning point. Although Jacob recognized God, his spiritual journey still had a lot to evolve. The years that Jacob spent in his uncle Laban's house were equally challenging. Laban deceived Jacob by giving him his eldest daughter, Leah, instead of Rachel, for whom he had worked 7 years. Jacob ended up working another 7 years for Rachel and faced several difficulties while Laban constantly changed his arrangements. Despite everything, God continued with Jacob, blessing him with a large family and many possessions. However, Jacob's heart remained restless. If this story is already touching your heart, imagine what's yet to come as we explore the moment Jacob wrestles with God. Take the opportunity to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this transformative message. The most memorable moment in Jacob's story occurs when he decides to return to Canaan, even though he knew he would have to face Esau, from whom he had been separated for years. Fear gripped Jacob as he anticipated their reunion. Would Esau seek revenge? Jacob sent gifts in an attempt to appease his brother, but he remained behind, alone in the dark of night. It was at that moment, on the banks of the Jabbok River, that Jacob encountered a mysterious man. The Bible describes this man as a human being, but as the night went on, it became clear that Jacob was wrestling with something much bigger. He was wrestling with God Himself. This fight lasted all night, a relentless battle of strength and determination. Jacob held on tightly, refusing to let go, even when his hip was dislocated by the divine being. This fight was much more than a physical confrontation. It symbolized Jacob's lifelong struggle, with God, with others, and with himself. When God said, "Let me go, for the day is dawning," Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." At that moment, Jacob's determination revealed a heart desperate for transformation. God blessed Jacob, but not before confronting him with the truth about who he was. "What is your name?" God asked. Jacob had to admit his identity as a deceiver, confessing the name that represented his flawed character. Only then did God give him a new name, Israel, which means he who fights with God. This name marked a profound transformation in Jacob's life, from a man of deceit to someone who walked under God's blessing. Doesn't this story inspire you to persevere and seek God's blessing? If so, take the opportunity to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment sharing a moment when you also felt like you were struggling with God. Send this video to someone who needs this message of strength and faith. But Jacob's story doesn't end with the fight. The next day, upon meeting Esau, the unexpected happened. Instead of revenge, Esau ran to embrace Jacob, crying with joy. Jacob's transformation was not just internal. It changed his relationships and the course of his life. Jacob's life teaches us that fighting with God is not an act of rebellion, but of faith. It is in struggle that we confront our weaknesses, seek God's blessing, and are transformed into the person we were created to be. Like Jacob, we often resist surrendering to God, clinging to our old ways. But when we finally let go and trust Him, we receive a new identity and a new purpose. And you? Are you struggling with God in any area of your life? Perhaps you are facing doubts, fears, or a desire to control everything. Whatever it is, know that God meets us in our struggles, not to condemn us, but to bless and transform us. If this story spoke to your heart, take the opportunity to reflect on how God may be calling you to fight with faith. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share with someone who needs to hear this message of hope and transformation. Jacob's struggle with God reminds us of the power of perseverance and the importance of surrender. Reflect on these questions this week. In what areas of your life do you feel like you are struggling with God? How can you, like Jacob, hold tight to God's promises even in the midst of pain and uncertainty? Are there relationships in your life that need reconciliation, just like Jacob and Esau? Take time to pray and reflect. Ask God to reveal areas where you need transformation and courage to persevere in your struggles. Remember, it is in these encounters with God that we are forever transformed. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Jacob's incredible story. If you feel inspired, share this message and continue this conversation with others. Until next time, may you fight well and walk with courage in God's blessings.